He left me at our daughter's graduation, but my revenge stole his future at her daughter's proudest moment. Her husband announced he was leaving her for another woman. Humiliated, she stayed silent. But when his new life came crashing down destroyed, piece by piece, he realized too late who was pulling the strings on what should have been a day of pride. A woman's world collapses when her husband humiliates her at their daughter's graduation by announcing he's leaving. Shock turns to rage and heartbreak to determination. In this emotional 15-chapter drama, betrayal ignites the fire of revenge as secrets unravel, loyalties are tested, and justice takes a darkly satisfying form. Set in the USA, this gripping story of love, betrayal, and payback follows a mother who refuses to be broken. Instead, she rises stronger, turning her pain into power, and ensuring the man who left her in public shame learns what true humiliation feels like. David June's sun was high over Boston that morning, gilding the campus lawns in a warm glow. Families filled the seats of the auditorium, the sound of laughter, chatter, and camera shutters clicking filling the air. My daughter, Emily, had worked tirelessly for this day, her graduation from Boston University. As her mother, I sat on the edge of my seat, pride swelling in my chest. She was radiant in her maroon gown, her blonde hair tucked neatly under her graduation cap. Her smile found me in the crowd, and in that moment, every sacrifice, every long night of study sessions we shared, every tear shed over exams, it was all worth it. Beside me sat my husband, Richard. He looked sharp in his tailored navy suit, his salt and pepper hair trimmed perfectly. On the surface, he seemed every bit the proud father. He clapped when her name was called, and even stood for a moment, smiling, as Emily walked across the stage to receive her diploma. I reached for his hand, but he didn't take it. Instead, he leaned slightly away, as though I were some stranger beside him. A flicker of unease rippled through me, but I dismissed it. Today was about Emily. After the ceremony, families gathered outside. The air buzzed with congratulations, hugs, and flowers. Emily ran into my arms, laughing through tears as she held her diploma tightly. Richard hugged her too, though briefly, almost mechanically. "Mom, Dad." "Thank you both," Emily said, her voice shaking with joy. "I couldn't have done this without you." I kissed her forehead. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart." That should have been the memory etched into this day forever, the proud embrace of a family celebrating their daughter's achievement. But Richard had other plans. As Emily's friends and professors passed by offering congratulations, Richard cleared his throat loudly. He stepped forward, gathering the attention of those nearest to us, our extended family, some neighbors, even Emily's friends. "I have an announcement," he said, his voice steady but cold. I frowned. "Richard, what are you doing?" He ignored me. The small crowd quieted, curiosity pulling them in. Emily tilted her head, confusion clouding her joy. Richard slipped his hands into his pockets and looked at me with an expression I had never seen before, one devoid of love. Almost smug. "I won't drag this out," he said flatly. "I'm leaving my wife. I've been unhappy for years and I can't pretend anymore. Today marks a new beginning, not just for Emily, but for me as well." The words didn't register at first. They hung in the air, absurd, impossible. Then I heard the gasps, the murmurs, the shifting of feet. My heart dropped like a stone. Emily's face went pale. "Dad, what? What are you saying?" I could barely breathe. "Richard, not here. Not now." But he continued, louder this time, as though he wanted the entire quad to hear. "I've met someone else. I found happiness again, and I won't waste another year living a lie." My knees nearly gave out. Around us, the whispers multiplied. Eyes burned into me, pity, shock, judgment. Emily covered her mouth with trembling hands, tears pooling in her eyes. Richard didn't look at me again. Instead, he turned his back and walked away, leaving me standing in the wreckage of what should have been the proudest day of our lives. Emily sobbed into my arms, repeating over and over, "How could he do this? On my graduation, Mom? How could he?" I held her, but my own tears wouldn't come. Not yet. My pride had been shattered in front of everyone. My marriage had been declared dead, not in the privacy of a home, but in the middle of a celebration. In that moment, standing on the green lawn with whispers chasing me like knives, something inside me broke. But in that same fracture, something else was born. A promise. He had humiliated me in public. He had ripped apart our family on the day our daughter should have cherished forever. And for that, Richard would pay. Public humiliation. The silence that followed Richard's announcement was deafening. All around us, people shifted uncomfortably, whispering behind cupped hands. A professor who had just congratulated Emily excused himself quickly, his eyes darting away. My sister-in-law, Linda, muttered something about not the right place, but her gaze lingered on me like I was a subject of gossip instead of family. I wanted to scream, to chase Richard down and demand he take back every word. But I couldn't move. My body felt rooted to the ground, my mind clouded in disbelief. Emily clung to me, her shoulders shaking. "Mom, why? Why would he do this? In front of everyone?" I stroked her hair, my throat tight. "I don't know, sweetheart. I don't know, but deep down I did." Richard had been distant for months, staying late at work, glued to his phone with sudden secretive smiles. I had tried to brush it off as stress, but the signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. Richard's betrayal wasn't just in the words he'd spoken. It was in the timing, the public spectacle. He'd chosen this moment deliberately to maximize my humiliation. He wanted me crushed. And crushed I was. As I guided Emily toward the car. I could feel the stares burning into my back. I could almost hear the judgments. Poor woman. Must have been a terrible wife. No wonder he left. Imagine being dumped at your daughter's graduation. The ride home was quiet except for Emily's occasional sniffles. My phone buzzed nonstop messages. From relatives, friends, even neighbors. I didn't dare look. Each buzz was a reminder of the scandal Richard had just branded me with. When we reached home, Emily stormed to her room, slamming the door. I sat in the living room, staring at the wedding photos still hanging on the wall. Richard and I smiling, young, naive, full of dreams. 23 years erased with a few cold sentences. The front door creaked an hour later. I looked up, half hoping it was him, half dreading it. But it wasn't Richard, it was Linda. Her expression was half sympathy, half condescension. "I had to come check on you," she said, her voice too sweet. "What a dramatic scene today. Are you okay?" I wanted to tell her to leave, but I swallowed my pride. I'll survive. She sat on the armchair, crossing her legs. "You know, Richard confided in me months ago. He said he was unhappy, that he felt trapped. Maybe this is for the best." Her words sliced through me. "He confided in you? And you said nothing?" Linda shrugged. "It wasn't my place. Besides, don't you think it's time you admitted things weren't perfect? He's found someone who makes him happy. Fighting it will only make you look bitter." The word echoed in my mind long after she left. I wasn't bitter. I was betrayed. That night, I sat at the kitchen table long after Emily had cried herself to sleep. I replayed Richard's announcement over and over, each time the humiliation cutting deeper. But with every replay, the shame began to twist into something sharper. I wasn't going to crawl away quietly, letting him walk into his new life unscathed. He had chosen to ruin me in public, to shred my dignity on our daughter's milestone. If it was a war he wanted, a war he would get. The first step was simple: find out everything. Who this new woman was, how long it had been going on, what Richard had hidden from me. I picked up my phone and finally looked at the messages, dozens of them. Some sympathetic, some prying, some cruel. But one, from my oldest friend Marlene, stood out. Call me. I think I know who he's with. My fingers trembled as I dialed her number. Anna, she whispered as soon as she picked up. I didn't want to tell you like this, but Richard's been seen all over town with a younger woman. Blonde, maybe mid-30s. Works in real estate. Her name's Jessica Moore. The name hit me like a bullet. Jessica, our real estate agent, the one who'd helped us refinance last year. I remembered her glossy hair, her perfect nails, her fake laugh at Richard's jokes. He hadn't just humiliated me. He'd replaced me with someone younger, someone I had welcomed into my home without suspicion. That night, as the clock struck midnight, I made myself a vow. Richard thought today was the beginning of his new life. He had no idea it was the beginning of his end. The younger woman, the morning after Richard's announcement, the sunlight pouring through my curtains felt cool, too bright, too cheerful for the storm inside me. I sat at the dining table, coffee untouched, staring at the empty chair where Richard used to sit. 23 years of mornings together gone, Emily avoided me. I could hear her moving around upstairs, her footsteps heavy, her music blasting. She was angry at him, but she was angry at me too, for not seeing it, for not stopping it. And maybe she was right, but my grief was already giving way to something stronger. Revenge, Marlene's words, echoed in my head. Jessica Moore, blonde, real estate. I pulled out my laptop and searched her name. Her face appeared instantly on the company's website. Perfect white smile, flawless makeup, styled hair that screamed money and effort. Top producer 2023, the headline read. There she was, the woman Richard had chosen to blow up our lives. First, scrolling through her profile, I learned she was 34, 10 years younger than me. Divorced, no kids. I clicked through her social media, each photo more staged than the last, sipping wine at rooftop bars, posing in designer dresses, selfies with Richard at restaurants I'd never been taken to. The betrayal burned hot in my chest. I grabbed my keys and drove downtown, parking across from her office building. For 2 hours, I sat there, watching her come and go. She was exactly what I expected, confident, polished, with a self-satisfied smirk as she walked to her Lexus. When Richard's car pulled up and she slid into the passenger seat, my stomach churned. He leaned over to kiss her before pulling into. TRFFIC, I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. He hadn't just moved on, he was flaunting it. Without shame, without fear. That night, Emily confronted me in the kitchen. Her eyes were red, her voice shaky. Mom, what are we going to do? I hugged her, though my voice was steadier than I felt. We're going to be okay, sweetheart. He made his choice. But we still have each other. She pulled away, tears spilling down her cheeks. I hate him. I hate her. He ruined everything. I cupped her face. Listen to me. He doesn't get to ruin us. He doesn't get to win. Do you understand? Emily sniffled. What do you mean? I kissed her forehead. It means your father thinks he's walking into a new life, but he has no idea what's coming. Over the next week, I gathered everything I could. I logged into our shared bank accounts, printing records. I checked his emails, thanks to a password he'd never changed. Flights booked with Jessica, hotels, jewelry receipts. Thousands of dollars spent on her while I was left budgeting grocery lists. The audacity of it made my blood boil. One evening, Marlene came over with wine. So, what's the plan? I leaned back in my chair, a slow, cold smile creeping across my face. First, I want to know everything about Jessica, who she really is, her weaknesses, her past. Marlene raised a brow. You sound like you're planning a takedown. I swirled the wine in my glass. That's exactly what I'm planning. Over the next few days, I dug deeper. Public records, divorce filings, old business deals. And then I struck gold. Jessica had been accused of unethical practices in a property deal 5 years ago. It had been quietly settled, but the documents were still there, a perfect crack in her perfect facade. The more I uncovered, the stronger I felt. For the first time since the graduation, I wasn't drowning. I was in control. Richard thought Jessica was his prize, his escape, his new beginning. But soon, she would be his downfall, and I would be the one pulling the strings, the aftermath. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. Friends, cousins, neighbors, everyone suddenly wanted to check in. I knew the truth. They wanted details, gossip to feed their evenings. I stopped answering after the third call. At the grocery store, whispers followed me down the aisles. That's her, the one Richard left at graduation. I kept my head high, but inside, shame burned. Emily refused to leave the house for days. Her graduation pictures sat unopened in an envelope on the counter. The memory tainted. One afternoon, as I unloaded groceries, Richard showed up unannounced. His hair was slicked back, his shirt too crisp. He was dressing differently for her. Need to talk, he said. I crossed my arms. There's nothing to talk about. His jaw tightened. I don't want things ugly. We'll handle this like adults. Divorce papers are coming. I'll make sure you're provided for. The arrogance in his tone snapped something inside me. You humiliated me in front of our daughter, Richard. Do you think money erases that? He sighed. Anna, you always make everything dramatic. I found real happiness. Jessica is everything you're not. Careful, I cut in, my voice low and shaking with fury. You've made your choice. Don't you dare compare me to her. He smirked. It's not a competition. She already won. I slammed the door in his face, but inside I whispered to myself, no, Richard. The game has only begun. Support and strength. The only thing keeping me from collapsing was Emily. She was broken too, angry but determined not to show it. One evening, I found her at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone. She shoved it toward me. Pictures of Richard and Jessica at a restaurant, smiling like newlyweds. They looked disgusting, Emily spat. I swallowed my own rage. Sweetheart, listen to me. Your father thinks he's building something new, but foundations built on lies always crumble. Her eyes narrowed. You're planning something. I smiled faintly. Let's just say he won't see it coming. Meanwhile, Marlene became my confidant. Over late-night wine sessions, she helped me piece together the puzzle. Richard's a fool, she said. Men like him always think younger means better, but women like Jessica, they want money, security. If you shake that, she run. Her words planted the seed. If I could hit his finances, Jessica's loyalty would crumble. I started small, freezing her joint accounts, making legal inquiries about property ownership. Richard had been sloppy. He never thought I'd fight back, but I would. For Emily, for myself, digging into secrets, I became an investigator in my own home. Nights were spent digging into files, passwords, old receipts. I discovered Richard had been funneling money into a hidden account, tens of thousands of dollars. Jewelry for Jessica, vacations, a down payment on a condo in her name. But what made my stomach turn was an email chain I stumbled across. Jessica wasn't just a homewrecker, she was pushing Richard to cut ties fast. Once everything's settled, we can sell the house, use the money for our future. Don't let her drag this out. Our house, my home, Emily's childhood. She wanted it stripped away for her shiny new beginning. That night, I stared at the walls of my living room, remembering Emily's first steps, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. And I swore Jessica Moore would never get her manicured hands on it. First strike my first move was quiet, strategic. Through Marlene's cousin, a paralegal, I got in touch with one of the best divorce attorneys in Boston. Ruthless, sharp, with a reputation for leading cheating spouses in financial ruin. Mrs. Callahan. She said firmly, "Your husband thinks this will be simple. It won't. Massachusetts favors the betrayed spouse, especially when there's infidelity in public. Humiliation involved. If you're ready to fight, I'll bleed him dry." Her confidence was intoxicating. For the first time in weeks, I felt power surging back into my veins. The next strike was social. I leaked the old unethical real estate deal Jessica had been involved in. A discreet email to her firm, another to a few clients. Within days, whispers about her shady past spread like wildfire. When I drove past her office, I saw her storming out, yelling into her phone. Richard's car was parked outside. Strike one, successful. The mistress exposed Jessica was unraveling. The woman who once posed in rooftop bars now looked strained, her smile tighter in photos. I watched it all unfold like a chess match. At home, Emily began smiling again. "Mom, it's like karma is real," she said, scrolling through social media where people speculated about Jessica's ethics. I only smiled. Karma had a face. Mine. Then came the breaking point. One night, Richard showed up furious, his voice booming through the living room. "Did you do this? Did you spread those lies about Jessica?" I met his rage with calm steel. "What lies, Richard? Her past is public record. Maybe you should have chosen better." He stepped closer, his face red. "You're trying to ruin me." Finally, I let the venom slip. "No, Richard, you ruined us. I'm just returning the favor." His scream echoed through the house before he stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. Emily peeked down the stairs, wide-eyed. "Mom, he's losing it." I exhaled slowly, a satisfied calm washing over me. Good. It means the plan is working. Turning the tables. The first real blow landed 2 weeks later. Richard's business partner, Daniel, called me out of the blue. "Anna," he said awkwardly, "I don't know how much you know, but Richard's choices are affecting the firm. Clients are nervous. Jessica's name being dragged around isn't helping. He's distracted, making mistakes." I smiled faintly. "I can't say I'm surprised." That week, Richard lost 2 major clients. The cracks were spreading. At home, I made sure Emily saw the strength in me. We cooked together, laughed, tried to reclaim a sense of normal. She whispered one night, "Mom, I don't know how you're holding it together." I kissed her forehead. "Because when someone tries to break you, sweetheart, the best revenge is showing them you can't be broken." Meanwhile, I fed the fire. Anonymous tips to reporters, highlighting Richard's sudden spending, Jessica's real estate scandal. Boston's professional circles were buzzing. Richard had humiliated me publicly. Now, the city was watching him. Stumble. Daughter's loyalty, Emily, stopped answering Richard's calls. One afternoon, he showed up at the house with flowers, demanding to see her. It's Dad," he pleaded at the door. "Don't shut me out because of this. I love you." From the stairs, she glared down at him. "You don't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have ruined my graduation. You wouldn't have destroyed Mom in front of everyone." Richard's face fell. "Sweetheart, I go back to her," Emily snapped. "You made your choice." The door slammed in his face, and I held Emily as she sobbed. My daughter, once his pride, now despised him. It was the deepest cut I could have wished for one. I hadn't even orchestrated, but I knew Richard well enough. The more his daughter pulled away, The more desperate he'd become. Desperation makes men sloppy, and sloppy men are easy to destroy. Legal warfare, the divorce battle officially began. My lawyer, Miss Carmichael, was merciless. She presented records of Richard's infidelity, the money funneled to Jessica, the public humiliation. Richard tried to argue, but the law wasn't on his side. His smug confidence crumbled in that courtroom as Miss Carmichael dismantled him piece by piece. Jessica sat in the gallery, glaring daggers at me. I met her gaze with calm steel. After the hearing, Richard cornered me in the hallway. "You're bleeding me dry, Anna." I leaned in, my voice a whisper sharp as glass. "Consider it tuition for the life lesson you clearly needed." Within weeks, court orders froze more of his assets. The condo he'd tried to buy for Jessica slipped through his fingers. He had to move into her cramped apartment, his lifestyle shrinking while mine held steady. The tables had officially turned, breaking. His pride humiliation began to follow Richard the way whispers once followed me. At a charity gala he arrived with Jessica, only to be subtly ignored by colleagues. People whispered not about me anymore, but about him, the cheating husband, the man who lost everything for a fling. A photo circulated online of Jessica glaring at him as he argued with her. In the parking lot, the caption read, "Boston's power couple, not anymore." Emily saw it and laughed for the first time in weeks. "He looks miserable." I sipped my tea, savoring the moment. That's because he is. But the final nail came when Jessica's firm suspended her pending an internal review. Her commissions dried up, her reputation scarred. The woman Richard had torched his life for was now a liability, and I made sure he knew it. One night, I left an envelope on his car windshield. Inside, copies of her shady real estate dealings, the very ones that had destroyed her career. Scrawled. Across the top was a note in my handwriting. "This is who you chose over your family." That night, Richard called me, his voice raw, desperate. "Anna, what do you want from me?" I smiled into the phone, my voice calm. "Nothing, Richard. I already have everything I want." "You broke yourself." I hung up, savoring the silence that followed. The mistress leaves. It didn't happen all at once. At first, Jessica clung to Richard like a trophy she refused to give up. But without money, without status, without the shine of being with a successful man, her patience thinned. They argued constantly. Emily showed me a video she'd found on TikTok. Richard and Jessica screaming at each other in a parking lot while strangers filmed. Jessica's voice rang out clearly. "You're broke. You promised me a future, not this mess." The comment section tore them apart. He left his family for that. I almost felt pity for him. Almost 2 weeks later, Jessica vanished from his life. She didn't answer his calls. She moved out of the apartment. When I drove past her office, her nameplate was gone from the door. Richard had lost her too. The woman he humiliated me for, the woman he called everything I wasn't, had dropped him the moment his worth evaporated. The irony was delicious. His fall. Her rise. Richard spiraled. His once impeccable suits grew wrinkled. His car, once spotless, now sat dented and dirty. When he showed up in court again, he looked like a shell of the man who had once stood smugly beside me. Meanwhile, my life blossomed. Emily and I grew closer than ever. We redecorated the house, painting over memories of him. I got a promotion at work after my boss, impressed by my resilience, gave me a new leadership role. At a dinner with friends, Marlene raised her glass. "To Anna, proof that you can't keep a good woman down." The table erupted in cheers. For the first time in months, I felt whole, strong, alive. Richard, meanwhile, couldn't even pay his share of Emily's graduate school tuition. The court ordered him to contribute, but his bank accounts bled dry. He had to sell his car then, his watch collection, piece by piece. One night, I caught him outside our house, staring at the windows from his old driveway. His eyes were hollow. "You won," he whispered, his voice cracked. I didn't flinch. "No, Richard. You lost." Graduation of the heart a year later, we stood once again in a crowded hall. This time, for Emily's master's degree ceremony. The air felt different, lighter. I wore a new dress, my hair styled, my head high. Emily beamed as she spotted me. In the crowd, her gown flowing as she crossed the stage. Richard wasn't there. Emily hadn't invited him. Afterward, she hugged me tight, diploma in hand. "Mom, this is our day, just us." Tears filled my eyes, not from sorrow, but from pride. On the drive home, Emily said softly, "You know, I used to think Dad broke us, but really, he freed us. We're stronger without him." I smiled, reaching over to squeeze her hand. "Yes, sweetheart, we are." As the sun dipped low, casting golden light over the city skyline, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Richard had tried to destroy me with public humiliation. Instead, I had risen from it, stronger and unbroken. And as Emily and I walked into our home, laughter filling the air, I realized my revenge was complete, not because Richard had lost everything, but because I had everything that mattered. The end.